Hey friends, in today's video, I'm doing a live commentary of building a tier list about cringe builds in Destiny 2. Now, first and foremost, this is not a personal attack, but rather pointing out that I really dislike that these builds exist. It's Bungie's fault, and these are the things that make me want to stop playing, possibly uninstall if I saw that every day, nonstop. So, first thing to preface is that relative power level matters and historical context matters. If I was going by historical context, I would have stuff above my current S tier. Like at the tippy top, most cringe build ever created is Sight and Rampart Barricade with Provoker Sniper Rifle and the Automatic Tracking Storm Nade. And the double S tier, we have the Dustfield Suck Grenade with the Sword Hilt to see third person, so you can perfectly use it to win. Then we have Geomag Hilt, where you're relying on getting 3 supers a match, playing third person, perfect safety. The original Gear Falcon with the damage boost. And Teus Ward at its peak. And the S plus tier, we have OEM, Lorelei, Omnioculus Lord of Wolves, Lorentz with the wall hack, Triple Behemoth at its peak, and Shatterdive at its peak. I really want to reiterate here, let me have some fun as a content creator. This is not a personal attack. I use this. Everyone in Destiny thinks their shit doesn't stink, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. If I'm playing to win, there is undoubtedly something cringe involved in the build that I wish I could change, but ultimately I just want to win. And then there's a couple cringe things that I find fun, like Mountaintop, because it reminds me of Quake. So, I am calling a spade a spade. Let me reiterate here so I can have some fun. I am not singling you out. Have some fun in the comment section. Lighten up a little bit. So I have a tier down here called Currently Talking About, so I will drag something like Osmio Ice Flare Cold Snap so that you can skip along in the video if you get bored of hearing me ramble too much on a certain one. I will be repeating myself a lot because the common theme is these annoy the hell out of me. And maybe not a smart idea to tell y'all the chips in my armor that if you see me load up Totsugekis loading up in your roster, you know exactly what to do to annoy me. Probably not a good idea. But I think it would be healthy for Bungie to see this kind of video to get into the headspace of what annoys a player like me, my comment section, and other content creators who copy me and make something similar. Other players even. Maybe it's a Reddit post. So now, let's talk about Osmio Ice Flare Cold Snap. What annoys me about this one is the inconsistency of Osmio both as a user and on the receiving end. And a variable in there is your teammates. If you have a bad teammate that is an Osmio magnet, you have to play around that teammate, which is why when I play Hunter, I usually use triple jump. The first jump is for dodging the initial Ice Flare, Cold Snap, whatever. And then the second jump is for dodging it when it hits my teammate because they're unaware and don't realize that they can jump around it. Then we have the AE system punishing you for jumping, so even throwing an Osmio that doesn't hit is still a good play, and they can follow that up with conditional finality to create an Ice Flare Seeker, which essentially does the same thing. It turns plays that are kind of RNG into 100% in the correct context. And for that, let me pull up my cheat sheet here so I can stay on the right pace. Osmio spam is going to the A tier. I don't think these tiers are going to be ordered. Just whatever goes there, goes there. I think any Jotun coming up next is a great example of something I don't see too frequently, something I don't die to too frequently, but occasionally I see this thing bend the laws of physics. Also, Titans who run this typically have bad connection, and the combination of is a very frustrating duel. And when they're out of Jotun, they just like go AFK. They don't even try anymore. That was the only reason they loaded into the match. I'm putting it in D tier. Walk to the side is a valid strat, but I'm telling you, y'all have not seen the anime-powered Jotun. That thing is crazy. Ooh, this is a heater right here. Rat King Grenade Launcher Invis. And for those who don't know, if you scroll while jump, you can mask the sound of your jump. So combination of this with a Disruption Break Grenade Launcher, Envious Assassin, into Rat King gets all their health back. If you are not a disciplined team, if you are playing solo queue, I don't even know what you do to beat this other than space and get lucky with the snipe. So for that reason, we're going into the A tier. You might be wondering, well, what is deserving of S? I'll skip to it. This is the poster child of this tier list. Wishender Threadling spam. Not because it's powerful, but because it's annoying and powerful. This one it feels like I have no counterplay against the Wishender, but all it takes is a lucky hit and a lucky Threadling spam. If 3 people are doing it, it really does feel like it comes down to luck. And so the best way I found to play around this is to play Invis, use my teammates as bait, and hope that they're not also using Knucklehead radar. That's the most I can do. It goes to S. If I had to play against this every single match, I'm going to stop playing. Next up, we have the Dimventory. Well, you know what? No, I'm going to save that for later. Double grenade launcher, Rain of Fire. The reason that this isn't going into S tier, I'm going to just spoiler alert that one right now. The reason it's not going into S tier is because not every double GL user is Epic Defender. I'm going to say 99% of players that use this suck and are probably not winning the match with it, which is why it's making it to A and probably not S. A lot of people just can't do it. It's annoying even when they're bad at it, but it's ultimately not going to win them the match. This is one of my loadouts I keep on my person 24/7 just in case I play against a cheater, because this really is one of the only loadouts that give me hope on Warlock. The other one is playing with a hyper-coordinated team using Blink to cut space or Osmiomancy to get a lucky freeze here and there. Kind of funny that the things that work well against cheaters are also the most annoying. Food for thought. Like, even in my historical tier, a lot of those builds I put up there, you couldn't even tell if you were playing against a cheater. They were so powerful. Okay, currently talking about one-hit kill Stormcaller melee. And this isn't just Necrotic Grip. This is a player whose game plan revolves 100% around this melee. And just like any Jotun user, as soon as they run out of their charge, they just kind of AFK until they have it again. I would say it's pretty annoying because it's hard to read. That animation is super jank, and teammates being unaware around you, yet again, are a reason that people find success with this. When I play Stormcaller against this, though, I eat it for breakfast with the Freeze Rift and the Cold Snap. Even when I play Invis on Hunter, just one little smoke grenade at the floor and it's rest in peace Stormcaller melee. Back in the day, though, even if you jumped in the air, if they did this Stormcaller melee against a wall, it would just randomly one-hit you. And that's what made it extremely annoying. But it's a lot better now. For sure, for sure. Currently talking about any fusion rifle. I think I'm going to put this into C tier because it is anti-primary. If I have to play console and I'm trying to work on my primary shot, I don't get the opportunity to because most of the lobbies on consoles seem to be fusion rifle. It was even worse on Stadia back in the day, if you remember that. I used to play mouse and keyboard on Stadia, and 99% of my games, not even exaggerating here, there was a fusion rifle. Let's contrast this with Invis Fusion. As soon as you add invisibility with radar booster, that is when it takes it up to B tier. Because now you can position perfectly to catch somebody out of position while you're using your charging instant kill weapon. Because although it has a charge time, when you're exposing yourself to danger, it's already pre-charged, baby. And you can see that with the radar. Next up is Wither Horde Martyrdom. And this one's really dependent on cooldowns. I put Dustfield and Stasis here, but it's really just the player who's the one thing on their mind, and it's disgusting, is anytime they're in danger, they shoot Wither Horde at their feet and hope for the best. And holy shit, do I abuse this one. This is one of my favorites as far as like cringe loadouts. They call me the Horde Father because I know a lot of lineups with this. I actually use my brain with this, but when I play a good player and they roll up on me and I'm not ready, yeah, it's going to turn into Wither Horde Martyrdom, and it's super cringe. So I'm putting it in C tier, C for Cammy. Any bow. Do I want to go into this? We'll save that for later. Any quick swap. We'll do that one. Any quick swap. This could be Ariana Lucky Pants into a quick draw hand cannon. It's just the fact that it like disguises itself as using a primary, but it really isn't a primary. With the latency in this game, you might as well get one hit. It's still adding that extra step. I just don't think that extra step is really asking for much. I'm going to go ahead and put it into the B tier Because again, just like fusion rifles and whatnot, it is anti-primary, but a little bit better than fusion rifle at its base. And it works from almost any distance if you use a bow or a grenade launcher. Wave Splitter Roller, kind of like I will talk about Knucklehead Laser later. This is one that you might not see very often, but when you do see it, it's very, very potent and annoying. And the reason I put controller there is because it is significantly different to aim with controller with a tracking weapon than mouse and keyboard, and then also deal, hope I'm not spoiling this, with hand cannon flinch. It is so difficult to deal with hand cannon flinch, especially on mouse and keyboard here. And what makes Wave Splitter Roller annoying is that if you use the Reaper mod, you power up Wave Splitter, you get wall hacks off the Aspect Fragment Gear Falcon combo, and then you have like a 0.5 weapon, 30 meter distance, whatever, and you just rip people apart. This is a build that turns bad opponents, bad teammates or whatever in Rumble into just winning you the game. You become an uncontested god with this setup. I think I'm putting it in C. Let's do a classic. SMG Cloud Strike with Void Overshield. This is the solved meta of today. This is the best, most potent loadout in the entire game. And yet, I'm going to put this in A tier. And yet, it doesn't make me want to stop playing more than just any bow. Bows are unlimited ammo special weapons, and if a bad player uses a bow, they're still so potent. And the way lobby balancing usually works is it puts the low, like KD, low skill bow player on the enemy team, and as long as they just hit me once, they just made the play of the game, because it's putting me out of combat for a couple extra seconds. And that matters so much, because if I switch to a bow, I typically don't have the overall build to win the match. I need to do something else and come up with some other win condition. Yes, there are aggressive bow builds that do take skill. By the way, I should say, all these builds can take skill to use under the right context, including bows. But that doesn't stop them from being any more annoying. I find them easy to use, but I do stay up to date in my bow knowledge, so that if I get annoyed enough, I just switch to a bow and I win harder. That's my take with the bow. I really wish it didn't have to be like this, and I hope that Bungie fixes bows at some point. I think I'm putting it in A tier, even above the SMG Cloud Strike. It annoys me that much. Okay, moving on to Floating Scout. This right here, this can beat a bow player, because you're so far away that the bow actually has to aim, not just in your general health bar. They have to put the arrow on your head and full draw, and you're so far off radar that you can catch them just trying to look at someone else. This is something that can do it. The problem is I don't play Warlock 24/7, so sometimes I'm on a Titan and sometimes I'm on a Hunter, and don't have a luxurious counter to any bow, which is a flaw of Destiny 2. I wish I could change any character at any time to deal with any amount of this BS, this cringe builds, and I just can't. That being said, I completely understand what a floating scout player is. It's just lobby balancing and SBMM leads to them getting a little bit too much success for my lobby balance teammates not knowing how to look up. It really is that simple. If my teammates just switch to a scout and look up, it's dead in the water. I think we have another S tier contender here. If you haven't seen this before, count your blessings. This is a Waveframe with Disruption Break and Thorn, and the specific interaction here is that Thorn does barely just enough damage to clean up so you don't have to use a 120, which is super important because using a 140 is a lot more forgiving than a 120 in terms of being caught out in the open like you would for using a grapple. And the worst part of it all is you don't even have to use a gun. You can just use the threaded spike, the rope dart or whatever, shoot the grenade launcher at the floor, throw the rope dart, and the rope dart will find them. And it's like an arc bolt too. If it hits somebody, it tags everybody. So you could be looking at some of the easiest Trials of Osiris you have ever played if you throw that on and have even the slightest light level advantage. I think it's time to talk about Archaeologist. And this is variable. It's pretty much the seasonal artifact. It can have something annoying like Classy Restoration, but it's more or less the player archetype that goes 100% all into the seasonal artifact. And usually even when they're not very potent, it's still very cringe to deal with something that's purely temporary. Yes, I know it's rich coming from a live service game, but the fact that they specifically make something annoying to be in the seasonal artifact under the guise of, well, it's annoying now, but it'll be going away. Like, I hate that. Triggers the hell out of me on that one. So I'm putting that in B tier. I think it's time to talk about the top 0.001% snipers, and a lot of you are going to say, they're Zimmers, they're cheating, but I promise you there's a lot of legit players that got it like that, and I have to scrim against them when I want to play competitive Destiny. And honestly, it makes the game pace play super shitty, which is why it's going to S. If you have to play against some of the best sniper players in the world, you are playing a different, more annoying video game, less fun video game. There's barely any action because everyone's afraid to peek because every team has one of these crackheads on their team. Respectfully. Moving on. Arthros' Embrace. This is another... I almost celebrate it when it happens to me, but if it happened like 100 times a day, I would definitely be more annoyed. But the odd death to an Arthros Embrace, I'm cool with, despite thinking that this exotic is completely slept on and people could get so much mileage out of it if they just labbed out a couple tosses in trials, especially when paired with like a Titan teammate or something that an Invis teammate, something that allows you to get a free burst off to activate the perk. What else do we got here? I'm running out of stuff. GL Cryo Swap. This is mainly just Cryosthesia. It is so potent in Rumble. It turns one noob in your lobby to making a player who probably isn't as good into a god. They have potentially with OEM and Diamond Lance. They have health back, an overshield, maybe an orb on the floor, a Diamond Lance, and a Cryosthesia, and it all chains into each other. So if they miss the Diamond Lance, they just hit you with the Cryosthesia. If they miss the Cryosthesia, you might be able to win now, but if they hit you with either of those two, you're frozen. They shoot the grenade launcher at the floor. By the time you unfreeze, the grenade launcher hits, your disruption break, and then they tap you once with Cryosthesia to repeat the cycle. So even if you have two people simultaneously peeking on this Cryo, they're probably still going to lose, and this player is going to walk out alive, which is why it's going all the way to S tier. If I had to play against this every single game, and not to personal attack, I have played a couple individuals who used this loadout, not just one person, and I caught one of the individuals in a lobby where everybody in Rumble left, and they had to 1v1 me. Let's just say, when you don't have a noob to farm, it goes down here. It's really not that bad. I'm the kind of player who throws on a precision hand cannon or switches to Dom Blade to float when I have to play against this build. That strategy completely crumbles. But it's not the fact that they might be able to beat you in a 1v1. It's the fact that when they farm the noobs, they turn into a god. That's what's annoying about it. Let's go with Snap Cancel 24/7 with the G Fuel. Just hearing that sound makes me groan because I know it's about to be so much harder of a match, and not because of the added movement, but because of how jank the animation is. If you've ever seen somebody snap cancel towards you, they're contorting like Spider-Man landing after jumping off a building type thing, and they're doing this in the air, and then they also have a special weapon combined with it, like a shotgun or something. And so being able to cover that much ground, being that non-committal, is extremely powerful. It's kind of cool from a movement kit perspective. Like I said, I like Mountaintop, for example. Reminds me of Quake, rocket jumping, that type of thing. This is sick. The game just isn't built around that animation. I would even argue to a lesser extent that the enhanced slide in this game, the network can't take it. You do like this jank-ass crab walk across the screen, and you can chain like two of them together, and sometimes you can even jump while in the slide animation, and it looks so jank that you can't realistically track it. In other words, when combined with any hint of lag, this is one of the most annoying things in the game. I think I will put this in B tier though, because not every player is good with it. Kind of like how I don't put double GL in S tier. Let's go with the dark horse, which is Knucklehead Laser. You probably don't see this one often, but there is an interaction with Solar Holster where Devil's Ruin Laser, you empty it, switch to your sniper rifle, and in about a second, your Devil's Ruin is loaded with one bullet, which can turn into a full laser. So when you combine it with Knucklehead or Radar and a Sniper, you have a perfect loadout for 1v3ing in Trials of Osiris. So what you do is you just use your Sniper normally. When you catch a wall hack from the Foe Tracer Knucklehead combo, remember they combine those exotics, you move in close with Invis and your laser, and you pre-charge as you walk around the corner, the same as Invis Fusion, except this one has unlimited ammo. And if you miss, you whiff, just switch to your Sniper and start backpedaling because you have Radar up the entire time you're doing it because of Knucklehead. And just like I put the top 1% snipers in S tier, it's the same thing with Knucklehead. If you are that guy with the Sniper, there is no hole in this loadout. Knucklehead / Foe Tracer also does the extra damage to a low health target, which means that this laser artificially gets more range. I'm putting it in A tier. Let's be thankful that you don't run into this every match, but it is that potent. On the lesser of evils, I have hand cannon Flinch. I have a 120 Igneous Hammer. Remember, you can hit your optimal at damage drop-off with an upside down mouse. I don't even have to explain that further. And then Ace of Spades, it's like the biggest flinch cannon in the game, and it has radar when you ADS. What annoys me about hand cannons is how easy they are to use with how much flinch that they cause. Although I would not say in isolation they're as annoying as any of these, it's the entire play session. It's death by 1,000 cuts. If you use something that isn't a hand cannon or an SMG and you have to play against a hand cannon, not only are they playing cover perfectly, it's that when you do get that rare opportunity to laser them with an auto rifle, it's not up to you whether or not you succeed. It's RNG on the flinch. And for that, I would say it's super annoying, but since it doesn't have the potency as everything else in isolation, it's going in the E tier. But I do want to mention that sometimes I get really annoyed and just log off for the day because I get too many bad RNG flinch, and that mechanic needs to go, / they need to give us more ways to build out of it. And also maybe a universal aim assist back where they downgrade the aim assist of every gun so that we can start having more skillful hand cannon interactions again. Something like that. Let's talk about Suspend Slam. It's, again, where the entire game plan is built around Suspend. Bungie likes to think that this is counterable, but combined with AE, the third-person camera that gets blocked out by player models and stuff like that, there are these RNG suspends where, in my opinion, even if you're an aimbot, you're not getting out of them. And for that, I think I am going to put this into the A tier. Yeah, I'm putting it in the A tier. It's a super annoying, kind of like Osmio Cold Snaps situation to deal with because it just feels unfair. In a similar vein, I'm going to put Weave Walk up there. Weave Walk is like Armor Lock from Halo Reach, except you can move around with it. I recently dabbled with it, and you might see a video on this subject in a couple of days, so I don't want to repeat myself too much here. But it's a get out of jail free card for a misplay. Yes, it does cost an ability, but that's why I dislike it. It's a get out of jail free card. And when lobby balancing puts trash cans on my team, you don't use your get out of jail free card on the trash cans. You use it on me. So I have to deal with 6 players who want to use this garbage on me, not just one player every now and then. The frequency and potency of these happens so much that it's going to A tier. Triple Behemoth. This has been wounded, and I understand what the counterplay is. Use a timed payload. Yes, I'm not even joking here. A timed payload hand cannon on a Stasis class with the fragment that lets you break crystals more. And anytime you see a Triple Behemoth team setting up, play aggressively and break their whole fortress. Combo it with blinding launchers. Combo it with instant kill snipers on invis angles. Counter it with Dawnblade. All the above. But I'm telling you, that time payload break is so fucking strong. And these got wounded, so they're not as free, but I still think they're slept on in their current form and not used enough. Despite that, I think I'm putting it in the B tier. Used in the right context, the correct map, it can be extremely oppressive and annoying. Let's save inventory for last. Now I'm talking about Wormhusk with a clone, or rather just the clone in general. I also forgot to mention explosive payload and hand cannon flinch. That shit needs to go. Back to Wormhusk. What makes this annoying is that when you catch somebody out of position, this is similar to Weave Walk and Suspend Slam. It's a get out of jail free card. They get their health back, they put up an instant barricade. If you go near the instant barricade, it turns into a bomb. It's also a radar ping. They can throw a threaded spike at it to arc bolt into people. They can shoot it themselves to create threadlings. It's overall a really, really annoying get out of jail free card, and I feel like I don't have enough ammo in any gun except Tommy's matchbook to gun them 3 times in a row and then bag them like they deserve. And now finally, this is called a Dimventory, Destiny Item Manager. This is when a player does not commit to any of these, they commit to all of these at the same time. It's not before a match they switch their loadout, it's when it's convenient. They'll burn both of their Cloud Strike shots and switch to Lemon Arc. They see a bubbles coming up and they'll switch to conditional. They'll empty Wither Horde, they'll switch to Wish Ender. It makes the game so unreadable, and when that effort level is not on both sides, it is unplayable in my opinion. When I see too much of this shit, I want to log out and uninstall. I'm not even exaggerating on that one. Okay, I think that covers my tier list. I hope I was respectful. Know that this is kind of an ingest experimentation type video, and if this is poorly received and y'all don't see that I'm not 100% serious about this, you're not getting content like this again in the future. Please let me have fun with this type of content. I am telling you, I know that my shit stinks in this too. I know that when I use Fighting Lion, it's super cringe. All I'm saying is this is not on the player. This is on the devs. This S tier garbage, it's on the devs to get out of the game. The same way that they got rid of these historical demons. So I hope that the relative power level of the game becomes a lot more playable. This could result in some game mode map type shakeups to where the game isn't solved. Like I know recently they've been doing checkmate trials, which I also need to make a video on. And that type of thing is great because it completely shifts the way of thinking and shifts the power and annoyance of some of these builds. But like I said, even something as small as hand cannon flinch, to me, it's death by 1,000 cuts. If I could put the radar here too, I would put the radar as its own individual thing, maybe an A tier. Not because I can't play around it, of course I can. I just use clone, Gemini Jester, or Invis. It's the fact that I have to play a very stale game plan to counter something so common. All these combinations in the game, all these fun loadouts that I can use, all these combinations of weapons, I can't because somebody decides to have fun with Wish Ender Threadling spam. And they're just slightly good enough to make it a problem. And I don't know when that's going to be because of the SPMM and lobby balancing in this game. I hope I've eloquently ranted and explained myself on this one. Please let content creators have fun with this. Take care, everybody. I'll see you in the next one.